Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do a review of the new Kat Von D 10th Anniversary palette. I am super pumped about it. Considering it is No Money May, it has been challenging for me. We are only about, how many days in are we? We are 12 days into No Money May and about a week into a Project Pan. And to be honest, the first few days was really difficult. That being said, this palette was one of my exceptions. This and the Flights of Fancy collection from Wet n Wild. So we are going to go over this first, because I don't have the other one yet. So on the back of the palette, there are the color names and an actual little photo, kind of what the color is. I like this, but I don't really like that the colors are not that accurate. For example, Kelly and... forgive me if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly, Kelly and Lafar are not that close in shade when you actually look at the palette. So it has this lovely gold box that it comes in, and then it comes in with a sheet around it to protect the packaging, I'm assuming, because the packaging is quite shiny and metallic. Again, you have that descriptor of the shades on the back because they are not actually in the palette. The front of the palette, this is kind of, it's not as metallic as the rest. It's not metallic at all, as a matter of fact. It has Kat Von D's signature in the corner, and obviously the artwork is done by her. This really reminds me of the aesthetic of this old school palette here, which is the Spellbinding palette. It's that like black and white type artistry with a little bit of flower and a little, it's kind of like gothic girly. As many of you know, Kat Von D is my best friend. So opening up the palette, and I will insert swatches for you, they are an array of brightly colored shades. So I do hang out in the Facebook group What's Up in Makeup that is run by Jen Loves Reviews. One thing I will say is there was a post in there asking if they should purchase this palette or not, and I guess there are some fairly negative reviews about it, which I didn't actually know. I think Puffin's Water's Wife put up a review, and a lot of the comments in the thread were around it's just a bunch of shades that she's already re-released. So I actually went through my own collection of shadows that I have from her. For reference, I have Spellbinding, Studded Kiss, or sorry, Star Studded eyeshadow palette. If anybody doesn't remember this one, this was pre-Mi Vida Loca. Looks like this. Lots of neutrals in there. Pastel Goth, Serpentina, Chrysalids, Saints and Sinners, Ladybird, Shade and Light Eye, and Metal Matte. So I actually went through and swatched any shade that I thought would be a good dupe for any of these shades in the 10th Anniversary palette to see if what they were saying was accurate. My first impression when opening this palette, and like literally first impression, just opened it, sat it in front of me, the first vibes I actually got from it was, oh no, this is another Saints and Sinners palette. But when I actually went to try and dupe anything against this, from this, it's actually not there. I couldn't find one dupe that was exactly the same, or even close. So I guess my original comment would have been Ministry is close to the blue in here, which is Melanie, but Ministry is actually a metallic and not a matte. I would have thought that Sylvia, which is the mid-orange shade here, this guy here, was similar to the Devil, but its Devil's actually darker. And then if you go up to the next one, which is Lala, this darker burnt red orange. Look at my gross desk. I would have thought that would have been even closer to Devil, but again, didn't actually happen. So then when I looked at it again, I thought, you honestly, I saw Subculture, and that's mainly from the burnt oranges. So when I looked at this against Subculture, I was actually like, that's actually what I wanted Subculture to be, I think. Bye-bye. It has that same kind of feel, like some of those like really rusty browns and oranges, and the rusty yellows, and it had like the dark greens, and I really love the army green here. That was probably the color I reached for first. That one is the shade Malice. That being said, I did end up finding some dupes against some other palettes. So if I actually, after going through everything, had to pick out the closest existing Kat Von D palette to this one, I would probably say it was Mi Vida Loca, but I don't own it. So this is a picture of Mi Vida Loca. Take with that what you will. I actually have swatches of other dupes in the existing collections. I can't compare it to Mi Vida Loca because I don't have it. But when you look at it against Metal Matte, it doesn't look that close. It really doesn't look that close, but when you actually break it down and start to pull the swatches together, it is very close. So after further review of going through all the palettes, the ones I found that were the closest were Kelly from the 10th Anniversary palette is very close to Entombed from Chrysalids. Melanie is very close to Velour from Metal Matte. Gina is very close to Flash from Metal Matte. And Adele is almost an exact dupe to the Metal Matte single, which is in Iggy. I did create the look I am wearing today with the 10th Anniversary palette. I'm happy with the look. I've been using this all week. I actually got a huge order from Sydney Grace that I haven't even touched yet. And I also realized that when I wanted to redo my, basically my VIB sale haul and review, I don't know why I can't talk today. I'm sorry, I feel so flustered. I had put this away and never even touched it, and now I wanted to do a review on this and I can't because I haven't even touched it because I've been reaching for this every single day. So that shows to me that this palette was curated well. Even if it's not everybody's cup of tea, I like brights. I use them a lot. It's pretty much what my go-to is. So I'm not really mad about it. Some of the unique colors in here that I really liked was the army green and this kind of, this one is called, this one is actually called Nancy. It's like a lilac gray and I really like that for in the crease. I've also been really liking this, this one is in the color Ashley. It's like a yellowish beige and it's been really great for buffing out all of the edges. This palette does not have a matte black, which I can appreciate because a lot of my palettes do have matte blacks and I just don't need any more. But it also doesn't have a shimmery eyebrow highlight, which I do think is a miss, in my opinion. This palette was $62 Canadian. It has 16 pans, and because of that, we are looking at 27.2 grams of product, and we are breaking that down to $2.20 per gram. I thought that was a pretty good deal at the end of the day, so I thought I would again go through the rest of my Kat Von D collection and see what some of the other comparisons were, price-wise and pan size-wise, and I actually found some pretty interesting information. So, each pan in the 10th Anniversary palette is 1.7 grams. And if you look at the palettes that I have, you would think that the pan sizes would be the same. So again, here is the 10th Anniversary. This is Saint and Sinners, same kind of pan size. Serpentina has the same type of pan size. Metal Matte, same thing. All of the rectangular pan sizes are similar looking and you would assume that it was the same size, but they actually are not. So the pan is either deeper or the shadows are pressed a little bit more densely. So the pan can be the actual physical same size and look exactly the same. But if the powder is heavier or it is packed differently, they can actually fit more weight into the pan. But even when you're thinking about that, you have to consider that if they are able to pack more powder, you're actually getting more product. So for reference's sake, and I have to refer to my tiniest little book here because I can't remember numbers that well, but I will read the comparisons to you. So, comparing to the 10th Anniversary at 1.7 grams per pan, the Metal Crush Single Eyeshadow. So these guys here, I only have one because they are expensive. This was a $25 single. This rings in at $8.92 per gram, and there's 2.8 grams of product in here. This is hella expensive to me. Like $25 for a single, I don't even know what I was thinking. So the Saints and Sinners palette is 1 gram of powder per pan, which to me is crazy because they seem exactly the same. Serpentina is 1.1, Pastel Goth is 1.7, Lady Bird is 1.4. For anybody who doesn't remember Lady Bird, it's this lovely original all matte palette, which I actually used quite a bit, and I could not hit pan on this to save my life. I think I used only this for like a year. And then the Metal Matte palette, which was 1.7 grams. So you can kind of see that there is definitely a huge range of pan or of eyeshadow weights in each one. These two palettes rang in with the same pan sizes, but again, these were both 1.4 grams. All in all, I am very happy with this product. I do really like Kat Von D in general. If you are not a makeup collector, do you need it? Could you do most of these things if you have a few colorful palettes? Probably. But for me, as a collector, I knew I was going to buy it. I am very happy with the quality. I've been very happy with the looks that I've gotten. You know, I don't really give a yes, you should absolutely have to buy this, or no, you don't. You really take everything I say with a grain of salt. It is my experiences with the products and my experiences alone that I can base this on. Like I said, hanging out in those rooms, some people aren't really loving it, but other people are super extra digging it. So I think it really comes down to personal preference. I don't believe that it comes down to quality in this sense. This is one of those palettes that may not add anything spectacular to your collection. Even a collection the size of mine, I do find it added a few shades I really did not have. Nothing even close to it. If you didn't like how Subculture worked for you or looked, color-wise, this is probably not the palette for you, because more than half of the shades, I would say, in the 10th Anniversary palette are very similar to Subculture. So if the Subculture color palette didn't work for you, I will say this is probably not for you. Anyway, guys, let me know your experiences with this palette and let me know what you are doing for a project pan or for your no-buy. Give me your tips, give me your tricks, because this is struggle bus town for me.